Hey there, this is Dino, and I've got something cool to talk to you about, and that is agents and how agents plug into APIs. It seems to me that a lot of attention has been dedicated to agentic computing, building intelligent agents that plug into LLMs and then automate a bunch of things that information workers have to go through tasks, repetitive tasks, tedious tasks that information workers might have to go through. Google back in April, right around the time of Google Next, introduced the Agent Development Kit, which is a framework and a set of libraries for building AI-based agents. There's a version in Python, there's a version in Java, and this documentation shows a bunch of what you can do with it. It is a multi-agent architecture, which means you can build systems that have agents that cooperate with agents. If that's a little too elaborate, you can just start building a single agent. And even that, to me, is amazing. Now, what a lot of people think is if I'm building a smart agent, I have to encapsulate anything that agent does as an MCP. Right? That's the default thinking, I think, these days. The agent development kit from Google doesn't require that. You can certainly plug in to things that are shaped like MCP, that expose an MCP interface. However, you don't need to do that. One of the things that is an option is you can plug in an OpenAPI, any API that has an OpenAPI spec definition. So if you've got one of those, you can plug that right into the ADK. There's no need to wrap it as an MCP. It's just going to use the REST protocol on the wire. All the management and capability that you've got for managing your REST APIs, it will use, it will take advantage of. No need to kind of reframe things, wrap those things at all. The ADK, the agent itself will be smart enough to invoke those APIs. So that's kind of magic to me. Um, some other nice things about this ADK is that it's multi-model, so it works really well with Gemini. You don't require Gemini. You can plug it into any model you like. It is multi-cloud, so you can build an app and run it wherever you want, on mobile, on web, in a container environment as a server in Google Cloud, but it doesn't have to be Google Cloud. It's just a Python library, and it's open source and it's actively managed. Just a little bit ago, Google's made some updates. The maintainers of the ADK have made some updates. Really kind of interesting framework for building. And I want to show you what I've put together. So I have a service that is, my implementation is in Node.js. Doesn't have to be. Um, that's just an implementation detail. But this is a service an example service that I wrote up that does order management for a kind of a contrived retail products scenario. So you can look up your account, you can query products, you can create an order and add products to the order. And as well, I have an API spec for that interface, and it looks like this: just open API, nothing really exotic. These are what the paths look like. These are the verbs. This is what you need to send. Importantly, I have descriptions. I have English language descriptions of what these operations do. And that is going to be critical to enable the agent to be able to invoke these things intelligently, to know when to invoke each one of these methods. If I did not include these descriptions, the agent wouldn't know when to invoke these things. But since I do have fairly good descriptions of the operations and the parameters, um, the agent can just use them. And I don't need to write any code. So not everybody digests OpenAPI spec easily. So let me show you what it looks like as in Swagger UI rendered. So these are the methods for accounts, some methods for orders, get all my orders, create a new order, get the information on a particular order, update a particular order, finalize an order, those kinds of things. Search the products and so on, retrieve product by ID. Nothing too exotic. So that's the interface. Those are the operations. And I've deployed this Node.js service to the cloud. And also, I have put it behind an Apigee API proxy that verifies an OAuth token. It's nothing really exotic. But the point is that the proxy is there. It's managing the upstream service. So if I look at the target, you'll see this is where my upstream service is running, that product service, just in the cloud. And Apigee's it's verifying a JWT and doing whatever else it does. So nothing too exotic. So we have a service and an API proxy in front of it, just REST API. How does this get built into an AI-based agent? Well, using this agent development kit makes it really slick to build something like this. So let me show you the agent that I put together that does this. And this is the amazing part. So this is using the Python ADK. If you don't know Python, you probably can kind of interpret what's going on anyway. This is just startup stuff. It's just looking for environment variables that are required. This is maybe the interesting part. It loads the OpenAPI spec from where? That is being loaded from the API Hub, which is kind of a registry for all things, all different types of interfaces. And I've registered this particular interface inside API Hub, and you can kind of see the version there. These are all the operations, and lots of interesting things that you can do with API Hub. But the point is that this specification is up in the cloud, and I'm pointing my agent to that and loading that API spec from there. And then I'm saying this is protected by OAuth, and it's an OpenID Connect sign-in, which means what we want is to get that pop-up experience. And so we set that up, and then here's the interesting part. This is the code that I have to write in order to teach the agent how to invoke the operations on the existing API. This is it. These lines of code. Here's the OpenAPI spec. It's YAML. Use that authentication scheme, and this is the credential. This is the client ID and secret that you're going to use. That's the whole thing. Like that's my agent. I've written an agent. I give it the model. I use Gemini 2.5 Flash, and I say, okay, this is a thing that's going to manage products, the inventory checks and orders and whatnot. This is all of it. This is the agent, including the copyright notice. It's 90 lines of code. So I can go deploy this to the cloud, and I have done. So before I show you that, I want to start a debug session in Apigee. I'm going to start it in my environment, and then I'm going to flip over to the running agent. So this has already been deployed to Cloud Run, and now I can start interacting with this agent. Tell me about the products you have related to rocks. How about that? That's kind of a strange thing to ask. But you can see it's doing a search, and it gets from the ADK runtime. The agent gets, oh, this is protected by credential, and I showed you that OAuth stuff, and it's asking me to sign in. I've configured a sample OIDC server. You can use Okta or Auth0 or whatever OpenID Connect ID provider you have. You'll have a similar kind of experience. So it asks me to log in and grant consent. It asks for these scopes. These scopes are the ones that I specified here, right here on line 59. Those are the scopes that it's asking for. So I'm going to say yes, grant the scopes, go back to the agent, and it's going to fulfill that request that I had about the products related to rocks. It says got 2 products, artificial rock and dehydrated boulders. Tell me more about these products. What is the price of each? I haven't coded anything for this agent except I have given it the OpenAPI spec. It is now invoking those API calls on the spec. It's getting information about the products, returning it, formatting it. It's doing all of this. I would like to place an order. Add 1 artificial rock to my order, please. It's creating an order now, and it's going to tell me, okay, this is what's in your order. This is what's in your order. Awesome. Tell me about products related to water. Do another search. Dehydrated boulders and tornado seeds. Oh, I want those tornado seeds. Add them to my order, please. It's going to search on products again. Let's I think I've got my query is not quite right. Okay, I have birdseed and tornado seeds. Okay, add product ID 325601 to my order. While all this is happening, I'm going to flip over and show you the trace in Apigee. So this is the trace that I showed you just a little bit ago. This is the agent invoking these API calls, saying, I want to understand. I'm searching for rocks. This one is saying, tell me more about that product. The agent has figured out how to invoke these API calls. And the inbound request includes the right authorization header, the right OAuth header, which is masked here. And Apigee, the API proxy, is doing its thing. It's verifying the JWT on the inbound request and making sure that that the request is authorized, is issued by a trusted issuer, and so on, before fulfilling the request and sending it to the upstream. So all this is just sort of, I don't know, magical. So let me flip back to my agent UI, and it said, okay, we added the tornado seeds. Place that order. I haven't taught the agent anything about this beyond the spec and the description in the spec. And this is magical. This is so cool. So there's no introduction of MCP. There's no deflection or kind of introduction of something novel in your network, some new protocol, some new security framework. It's OAuth. It's OpenID Connect, which you're already using probably. It's bearer tokens. It's API management. You get to take advantage of all of that with this ADK. And if you'd like to get your hygiene in better order, you can also kind of up your game by using Apigee to manage these API calls, and also using API Hub to manage all the interfaces so that your agents can just go to the hub, query an interface by name, and say, I want to be able to take advantage of this interface. And instantly that agent now knows how to do all these things. It's like Neo in the Matrix. You jack in, get this information, the agent gets this information, and instantly it knows how to do all these things and behave in this interactive fashion. Really cool. Um, you can do this too. So this is all accessible to you. The key ingredients are a service that you have a description of. You got to have an OpenAPI spec. That's critical. The OpenAPI spec has to be pretty good. You have to have good hygiene there with descriptions of the parameters, the operations, and so on. A little bit of Python code. So use the ADK, and what I showed you is basically boilerplate code. There's not a whole lot going on here. Just take this spec and be an agent. That's what I'm doing. There is this one bit of magic here that I added in the instruction. It's like extra instructions for the agent. Like, what do you do with this thing? And basically, I told the agent, um, you are a store assistant. Here are some examples of what people might ask. This is how you should respond. Just some markdown, just some plain text instruction, and that's it. Uh, that builds us an agent. At this point, I could then deploy this agent really to a web UI. All this stuff is just a developer experience for debugging your agent and so on. This framing over here, but I could deploy it to a web for actual consumption or to mobile, and it would behave this way. Uh, really neat stuff. Definitely check it out if you're interested in pursuing agentic experiences. You've got enterprise APIs. You can take advantage of it right now with the ADK. Check it out. Leave me questions or comments if you got them. Till next time, keep it digital.